All the way from Martha's Vineyard to the city of Boston, we're here live with a quick note from Chris. Good afternoon on this final afternoon in June. 2020 halftime is almost here. Is it the year that wasn't? Or was it? At any rate, I can't go into detail right now. I'm in the middle of making the first haul, which I'm going to release in September, which I said in the last episode. This is just a quick, hey, reminder that we need to learn about Emily Dickinson and the vital light. And I need subscribers, please. And I will give you some of the best entertainment that you could have ever seen from the 1990s. So please, we're talking about generations, and here I am talking about generations. This is important stuff. And I want to thank my musical director, Brad Huff, for all of his orchestrations and compositions. Thank you, and have a great night. Speaking of generations, there's a book out that by Strauss and Howe called Generations, and it talks about all the American generations and how we are on the hinges of both tragic times and awakenings. I believe we're at one of those moments right now where the hinge is swinging, okay? And they talk about like where people were when they grew up during what time period. You know, for instance, if you were a child during the Civil War, or if you were a child in the 50s, it was like a Leave It to Beaver kind of place. Or if you were a Gen Xer like me, which I think we're very important people, we were latchkey kids. Okay, I told you before, we had payphones, we had rotary phones, we had tape recorders. You know, this is how we would, you know, record things and listen to things. We had Walkmans. So I want to go back to the time of Emily Dickinson, and she was from the what we call the Gilded Age, and that takes place from 1822 until 1842. And now I want to show you how to ignite the light.
The poets light but lamps, themselves go out. The wicks they stimulate, if vital, light. In here, as do the suns, each age a lens disseminating their circumference.
I guess I liked Emily Dickinson because she was a strong woman. I was raised by strong women throughout my whole life, including Rocky and Missy and my mom. And Emily Dickinson is America's most famous poet, female poet. She was an American woman of achievement. She was born on December 10th, 1830, and she died on May 15th, 1886. She lived her entire life in Amherst, Massachusetts. Her grandfather founded Amherst, Massachusetts. She was the middle of 3 children. Her range of her interest and experimentation is enormous. It's bold and courageous. And her absence of activity in her life is matched by the phenomenal activity of her intellect. Back then, Amherst was focused on education and religion. She was a rebel, a woman of power, and brilliant people are often lonely. And when she died, they discovered a huge pile of 40 books, close to nearly 2,000 poems. And she came to me with just 883 days before the year 2000. It was intended. I could feel it. Out of the sky, the poem. The poets light but lamps, themselves go out. And that was her old homestead. And I visited it.
When the only tool you have is a camera, stories begin to tell tales. You're hauling for 100 days on the trail. Halfway between Queens and the Vineyard, a ride had to bear. I kept hauling